You will see the proceedings tonight, but I wanted to give you the complete version of my thoughts that I was expressing during the motions discussion, and I was interrupted by a point of order, partially fair, by Councilor Fury. This would have been my complete comments. Mayor, City Council, this is the perfect example and case in point why I believe that somehow we're going against our Constitution that defines separation of powers. Indeed, we right now are ruling as judges or quasi-judges because we're issuing judgment, but we're not elected judges. At the same time, we're ruling by appealing to laws we ourselves just enacted. And we enacted those laws actually after the applicant applied. In 1776, our founding fathers would have called this, with one word, tyranny. For this, and all the reasons I've already explained during the City Council meeting, which you can watch right now, I voted the way I voted. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a number of questions for Wendy, if you wouldn't mind. I'm scratching my head here on this one for a number of reasons, and I want to make sure I and the public understands at least the chronology. So my first question is, if the WBT did not exist, let's assume it doesn't exist, what would be this property zoned at?
WB2.
And why?
Because that's the most closest zone that we have.
And it's because of Montana Code annotated as well?
Right.
Thank you. Number two, when the applicant applied for annexation and the city approved the extension of city limits, and that was resolution 23-05 that we passed on 2/21/23 and it was returned approved in 3/9/23. Am I correct?
Correct.
Was WBT enacted already?
No.
Okay, so the applicant applied and we extended the city limits, and the applicant's expectation, as well as their investors, accordingly to MCA and the growth policy, was they were going to have a WB2 type land.
I
Thank
believe
you.
that's true.
Thank you. So, further question. If we go to page 80 of the packet, and that reminds me that when we approved WBT, it was clearly stating that the zoning overlay was south of Highway 40. Am I correct in my understanding?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what it
So
says.
if when we approved WBT, the understanding was south of Highway 40, what would have been the understanding north of Highway 40?
I don't know, maybe Dave could help chime in here since he was more involved in the corridor plan.
I mean, when we designed the transitional zoning as part of the corridor plan, we just kind of put together the bones of what a transitional zone would be. It was designed to be something that would apply to commercial properties that wouldn't have the same types of very intense traffic and uses as would be further north of Highway 40, where you have all the accesses and the speed limit slows down. We were trying to put a zone together where we could control the access points, consolidate accesses, have backage roads, and then limit the uses to ones that wouldn't be high traffic uses. And that's why that was, south of Highway 40, that BT transitional zone made sense, and that's why the plan calls for it there. And south of there, which is why, the town pump got a B2 zoning, that's what it was historically. And these properties, for the last 42 years have had a B2 zoning or equivalent when it was either in the city's jurisdiction or in the county's.
Thank you. So here I am, and I normally state that if city staff recommends something and the planning board recommends it, I have no question. But right now I have a city staff that recommends one type of zoning, and the planning board voted the first time on your first recommendation 3-2 against it.
Right.
And then when you offered alternate findings of fact, they voted 4-1 to approve. Okay. So I read the minutes, and I have my colleague here, Councilor Cunell, on the record and on the paper, saying this is a tricky one as it looks at the permitted uses in WB2 versus WBT. And it was the intent of council, when they extended our services, we wanted to have more control over this area.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure why Councilor Caltabiano is reading something directly out of the minutes. That is public knowledge.
Because I have a question about this. No, it is for the staff.
Continue.
Thank you. The question was, is this the WB2 zone or just outside? The timing is hard for him to swallow, I'm reading the minutes, based on the way things went down. We have been burned before, unfortunately, and the number of permitted uses in WB2 is too much, too great, especially in his mind, and this corner in this one place. Council has the ultimate decision. Now, my question to you is, you need to apply the zoning code, the MCA, and you paid to do this job. How do you know when it is too much? Why wasn't Town Pump too much then? Can you point me on any zoning regulation or any legislation or rules that tells you when it's too much, so you give me the right recommendations? Because right now I'm at a loss. You guys recommended WB2, and you have a number of finding of facts, and 3 of those finding of facts have been turned 180 degrees by the planning board. So you as the city planner, which findings of fact are you recommending?
Well, staff is still supporting the WB2.
Thank you.
Dave, I just wanted to clarify a few things. If the B2 is adopted, hotels, motels, other lodging facilities, as well as formula restaurants, all would come in under a conditional use permit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Under that conditional process, we could obviously, whoever's here at the time, condition the approvals to increase setbacks as well as landscaping requirements consistent with the WBT
Yep, absolutely,
in
yeah.
spirit.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can put whatever conditions that are, are reasonable on there,
As
including,
long as they're mitigating the
access and
impact
easements
that's
and
defined by
stuff.
council.
Yep.
Impact. I would welcome a motion one way or another, just to keep the discussion moving.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I move to approve WZC 23-02 at the finding of facts originally presented by the city planning staff, which point towards a WB2 zoning.
Is there a second to the motion? And the motion does fail for lack of a second.
Okay, let's try another one. Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve ordinance, my eyes are so bad tonight,
23-7.
23-7, an ordinance rezoning 11.9 acres of land, essentially zoning it WBT and WCR, I believe is correct, pursuant to the findings of fact issued by and approved by the planning department, or by the planning board.
That's seconded by Councilor Norton. Giuseppe.
Yes, since my motion died, I can speak to this one. I'm disappointed about this process. This is the perfect example and case in point why I believe that somewhere we're going against our Constitution that defines separation of powers. Indeed, we right now are ruling as judges. And
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I would entertain any comments that are relevant to the motion, not ones that are diatribes about public process and how we operate.
I would agree with you, Andy.
I'll finish with
Please.
towards, I'm going to vote against this motion.
I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, like sign, and the motion does carry on a 4-1 vote with Giuseppe Caltabiano voting in opposition. Thanks, you guys.